Hiya, Honest Discussioner here. This is a video response to Brittany's official. I apologize, I don't have the time anymore now that I have a job to do in-depth editing and make myself teleport all around the screen and make everything all stylish and perfect, so you might actually hear me say and stuff like that. I apologize, but don't really have a choice. I'm going to have to kick it old school and try to do this all in one shot. As I said, this is a response to Brittany's official on her video, The Reality of Sexual Orientation, where she argues that even though she is attracted to both sexes, or at least appears to be attracted to both sexes, she believes it's okay for her to self-identify as a lesbian. I'm going to disagree with her on that part, although I'm not going to actually give reasons and logic and all that's wonderful stuff. Let's get into it. Now, Brittany argues, is it really too difficult for someone to imagine a person like her, she uses herself as an example, who is a very independent person who's been around places and yet can't really find a specific niche to fill, where even where you should really fill into some sort of group, she still didn't totally fit in for whatever reason. Is it so difficult for anyone to understand that she self-identifies as a lesbian? I have a problem when people bring out the, well, I don't want to say the self-identification card, but when they argue that how they self-identify is totally up to them and they can do how they can self-identify in any way. As far as I understand, identity has to have some sort of basis in, well, the words and the terms that you're using. Now, she argues that we should just throw out our terms and start fresh and just get rid of all of our current understanding of sexuality and sexual orientation to understand where she's coming from. But I don't think that really holds water. For example, could I, as someone who only enjoys the sexual company of women and not the sexual company of men, could I decide I'm going to self-identify as a lesbian? I don't think even Brittany would agree that I could do that because, well, a lesbian is someone who is a woman. But if you're going to do that, if you're going to cite definitions as for why I can't self-identify in that way, why is that not applied to you? Why the definition of a bisexual is someone who is physically attracted to both men and women. It doesn't necessarily have to be that you have an equal attraction to men and women. But do you get turned on by men, Brittany? Do you also get turned on by women? If that's the case, then by definition, you are bisexual. You might not want to call yourself that. I suppose that's your choice. You might have certain reasons behind it. But technically you can be right when you say that you want to self-identify as a lesbian, but you can't really contradict people who point out you actually are in reality bisexual just by the actual definition of what the word means. I think I understand your reasoning for why you want to do that. I'll get into that later, but let's go over the example she uses of someone who wants to fit in society and feels that being a homosexual is not the way to go about it, despite the fact that that's how they really are. So you have a man who goes and marries a woman and sleeps with her on a regular basis and loves her. Despite all this, the only reason he's going this route is because he wants to fit into society. The issue is he actually sexually attracted to her? I think you can have sex with someone you're really not sexually attracted to. So the fact that he's having sex with her in this hypothetical scenario, that doesn't make him a bisexual. What would make it a bisexual is if he was stimulated by women in general. That's where I think you're missing a bit of a distinction and as what is a homosexual and what is a bisexual. Now, that was to reject that part of her argument. I think I understand why you want to be considered a lesbian, and it's probably because, correct me if I'm wrong, this is just a guess, but it's probably that even though you are sexually attracted to men in some way, I'm assuming that's the case, since you've had sex with men and you really enjoyed it and all of that stuff. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just going off of what I know of your video. Despite that fact, you wouldn't really want to enter into an intimate one-on-one monogamous relationship with one. For that, maybe you want women. But still, that's not, we're talking about emotions, not sexuality. So that's why I'm still going to argue that you are bisexual. The only qualifying factor of bisexual is, as I said, someone who is attracted to both sexes. They don't even have to act upon that attraction. It simply has to be present. So that would be my question to Brittany. Is that where you're coming from? Or at least, is that true? Is it true that even though you can get attracted to men, you wouldn't want to engage in a long-term one-on-one monogamous relationship with them? Lastly, I have to point out that why do you even really care what you self-identify as? I ask this to you specifically because you don't seem like someone who should really care. Why do you need to come up with these extra categories for yourself? Because you don't seem to want to do that with most things. You don't fit into a niche. Why can't you just say, I self-identify as Brittany, and leave it at that? See, the thing about categories is we humans love our categories. We are enamored with them. It was a successful strategy when we were, on the plains and we could be hunted down by animals. It was easier to identify friend from foe quickly without having to consciously recognize it. So it created automatic categories that our brains just automatically said, boom, that's, animal, boom, tree, quickly, automatically, don't have to think about it. But categories are really, they don't exist in reality. They're just what our minds impose upon our world in order to order it. This is why we run into problems with creationists, because they talk about the difference between species and kind and all of that stuff, and they get confused as to when the actual transition occurs. There really aren't any species in nature. It's just a category that we have placed upon it. To use an example from evolution here. So why do you care? You're a very unique individual. I get that. Just be Brittany. You're not a lesbian or bisexual, homosexual, atheist, Christian, anything. You seem like someone who'd be perfectly happy with saying, I self-identify as Brittany. That's my 2 cents. Sorry that I can't make this more clean-cut and all that stuff, but again, don't have as much time on my hands. Hope you enjoyed that, Brittany. Would love to hear from you in the comments or when you make your inevitable response to all the other responses. Have a nice day. Honest Discussioner out.